they didn't just attack him, they erased him. And if you think what the Usos did to Ishowspeed was too far, you clearly haven't been paying attention. Because Speed didn't just cost them a match. He didn't just make a mistake. This man walked into one of the most sacred environments in all of professional wrestling, made the Usos look like absolute fools on the grandest stage, and then had the nerve, the audacity to stand there smiling like it was all a joke. A joke. The Tag Team Championships. Gone. Because of a content creator who couldn't follow one simple instruction. So yeah, the Usos snapped. And honestly, a lot of you are going to watch this video and say they went too far. But deep down you know Speed had it coming. Let's talk about everything that happened. Because this story is nastier than you think. The setup, how Speed got involved in the first place. Let's rewind. Because none of this happens without the build-up. Ishowspeed, for those who somehow still don't know, is one of the biggest content creators on the entire planet. Hundreds of millions of subscribers. A fanbase so loud and so loyal they make actual wrestling crowds look quiet. And WWE, being the smartest entertainment company on earth right now, saw $signs the moment Speed's name got floated in those backstage conversations. The idea was simple, elegant, even. Speed comes in, he does his thing, the fans go crazy, ratings spike, everybody wins. And in theory, great idea. Speed has shown genuine love for WWE. The man is not faking his passion for this product. You've seen the clips. He marks out harder than most people in the actual audience. He's a real fan. But there's a massive difference between being a fan of wrestling and being trusted to stand ringside during one of the most high-stakes tag team championship matches the Usos have had in recent memory. That difference? It's called professionalism. It's called understanding the assignment. It's called knowing when to keep your hands to yourself and your energy under control. Speed understood none of that. The match, the moment everything fell apart. The match itself was everything you'd expect from the Usos at their absolute best. Jey and Jimmy were locked in, synchronized, vicious. They were dismantling their opponents piece by piece with the kind of tag team chemistry that only comes from decades of blood, sweat, and sacrifice. The crowd was electric. The championship was this close to being retained. And then Speed happened. Now look, there's going to be debate about exactly what went down. Was it intentional? Was Speed just caught up in the moment? Was he trying to help and misjudged the situation completely? Doesn't matter. Here's what does matter, his interference at ringside directly led to the distraction that caused the Usos to lose their footing at the worst possible moment. One lapse. One chaotic, uncontrolled, speed-induced lapse and the referee's hand hit the mat for 3. New tag team champions. The Usos' reign? Over. Just like that. The look on Jimmy's face when the bell rang said everything words cannot. That was not a man who had just lost a wrestling match. That was a man who felt his legacy being stripped from him by someone who had no business being involved in the first place. Jey wasn't even looking at the new champions. He was staring at Speed, eyes hollow, jaw tight, like a man deciding something. And that decision? It came fast. The attack, what the Usos did to Speed. The moment the chaos settled and the celebration started for the new champions, the Usos turned. They didn't run. They didn't scramble. They walked. Slow, deliberate, synchronized the way they always move when they've made up their minds about something. The crowd immediately felt the shift in energy. You could hear it. That low murmur that spreads through an arena when something real is about to happen. Speed barely had time to process what was going on before Jimmy was on him. And look, this is where it gets uncomfortable for a lot of people to watch. Because Speed is not a wrestler. He's not trained. He doesn't know how to fall, how to protect himself, how to roll with the physicality the way even a green rookie would after a few months in the performance center. He was completely and utterly exposed. And the Usos, two of the most vicious, calculated, experienced tag team wrestlers to ever lace up boots, they knew exactly what they were doing. They planted him. Super kick after super kick. The 1D on the outside of the ring. And just to make absolutely sure the message was received by every single person in that building and every single person watching at home, they stood over him. Both of them. Looking down. No celebration. No trash talk. Just two men making a statement with their silence. The arena went completely quiet for a moment. That specific kind of quiet that means what you just witnessed cannot be undone. Security eventually got involved. Medical came rushing down the ramp. But the damage was done. Speed was laid out, and the Usos were walking up that ramp like men who had absolutely zero regrets. The aftermath, Speed's response, and the internet goes to war. Within minutes social media detonated. Speed's fanbase, which is enormous and passionate and not exactly known for measured, calm responses, went absolutely ballistic. They flooded WWE's mentions. They were calling for the Usos to be fired, suspended, investigated. The whole thing spiraled in ways that only Speed's community can make spiral. Trending worldwide. Every platform. The discourse was deafening, and then Speed posted. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the exact words he used because the situation is still unfolding and things are getting updated by the hour. But the tone of what Speed put out was a combination of genuine shock and this is important, he did not throw the Usos fully under the bus. He acknowledged something went wrong. He acknowledged he probably shouldn't have gotten involved the way he did. Which, whether you're a Speed fan or a wrestling purist, you have to respect that tiny bit. He didn't cry victim completely. He took a sliver of accountability. But here's the thing that's not enough for the Usos fanbase. Because they're two guys? They worked for years to build what they had as tag team champions. They bled for those titles. They carried tag team wrestling on their backs through eras and storylines and rivalries that defined WWE programming. And in one uncontrolled, reckless moment from a guest celebrity, all of that momentum was derailed. You think a social media post fixes that? You think accountability points on Instagram make Jimmy and Jey feel better about losing their championships? Nah. The wrestling community is split and it's getting ugly. Here's where this gets even messy. Because the wrestling community, our community, the one that's supposed to have at least some shared baseline of values, is completely divided right now and getting uglier by the hour. On one side, you've got the purists. The ones who have been watching since before they could drive. The ones who know every Usos match, every title run, every moment of Jimmy and Jey's career by heart. These fans are furious. Not just at Speed, but at the decision to put him anywhere near a title match to begin with. They're saying WWE sacrificed the integrity of a championship on the altar of social media clout. And you know what? They're not entirely wrong. On the other side, you've got Speed's army. And they don't care about title histories or legacy or any of that. They care about their guy. They feel like the Usos physically assaulted someone who isn't a professional wrestler, and they want consequences. They want accountability on a level the wrestling world doesn't typically operate on. And some of them are threatening to boycott WWE entirely. Then, and this is the group nobody is talking about but everybody should be there, are the fans in the middle who are exhausted. The ones who genuinely love both the Usos and Speed. Who wanted this crossover to be everything it could have been. Who are grieving what this situation has devolved into because it didn't have to go this way. That last group? They're the ones who understand the full tragedy of what happened here. The bigger question, was this worth it for WWE? Let me ask you something that nobody else is going to ask. Was any of this worth it? WWE gets massive engagement from celebrity crossovers. Always has. From Mr. T to Mike Tyson to Bad Bunny, when it works, it works. Bad Bunny is literally the gold standard of how a celebrity can come into WWE, put in the work, train legitimately, take bumps, and leave with everyone's respect completely intact. That man earned his spot. Nobody questioned it. But there's a spectrum between trained for months and delivered something remarkable and stood at ringside and accidentally blew up a title match. And the question WWE's creative team has to answer quietly, internally, away from the cameras, is whether the line between those two things was clear enough before Speed got involved. Because if the answer is no, if the guardrails weren't tight enough, then the Usos' rage isn't just understandable, it's justified. They were put in a situation they couldn't control, built a moment that was supposed to be great entertainment, and paid for someone else's lack of preparation with their championships. That's not a Speed problem alone. That's a systemic problem. And it deserves to be said. Where this goes from here, revenge, redemption, or something darker? Alright, so where does this actually go from here? Because as much as this is a real-world situation with real consequences, it's also WWE, and WWE does not let a moment this charge just disappear into the ether. Option 1, the Usos get their rematch. They win the titles back. Speed stays far away from anything wrestling related for a long time. Everybody moves on. Option 2, Speed, fueled by his pride and his massive platform and his community screaming at him to respond, actually comes back. He trains. He gets serious. He does a Bad Bunny. And suddenly, we're building towards something that could be genuinely incredible if handled right. Option 3, and this is the one that terrifies me in the best possible way, the Usos lean fully into being the villains of the story. They don't apologize. They don't walk it back. They let the internet burn around them and they use that heat to fuel a character arc that reshapes how casual fans see them forever. Because as beloved as the Usos are, there is a version of Jimmy and Jey that is absolutely terrifying as heels. And this incident? This is the kind of real, emotional foundation that the best heel turns are built on. Whatever direction this goes, one thing is certain, nobody is forgetting this anytime soon. The Usos made sure of that. Speed made sure of that. And this video existing means you are not going to let it be forgotten either. Final word. I need you to do something before you close this video out. I need you to drop your honest opinion in the comments right now. Not a safe answer. Your real one. Did the Usos go too far? Did Speed deserve everything he got? Should WWE have never put him in that position to begin with? Who do you blame most, Speed, the Usos, or WWE Creative? Because this conversation needs to happen. Our community needs to have it. And the only way it happens at the level it deserves is if every single one of you shares this video with someone else who has an opinion. Ring Rumble 1. We don't do surface level. We go all the way down. Drop a comment. Share this. And I'll see you in the next one. Film the Hook standing, leaning slightly into camera, no desk, no chair, pure intensity. Use WWE match footage in the background, B-roll, during the match breakdown section. Pause dramatically after and that decision? It came fast. Let it breathe. End on a freeze frame with your channel tag, not a fade out.